Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and welcome to my uh, brief video. It's brief in that it should be mercifully short, and it's supposed to brief you on subjects of interest. Here we are. We're about to begin the unit where you get some opportunity to write XSLT transformations that extract the content from an XML content-oriented input document and emit a document that has markup from XSL-FO. Now, we've already done that with creating documents that emit HTML5, and we're getting pretty good at it. So the only thing we have to do is we have to apply ourselves to a different tag set. We're going to be using XSL-FO instead of HTML5. So instead of lecturing on it a whole bunch, what I find works the best is I've given you a tutorial video. I think in the video, it's an older one. I call it a demo video, but it's a tutorial nonetheless. And it's called Building a Simple XSL-FO Application. And in it, what we essentially do is we take an example that we already did, which is the generating the web content for the ACES student chapters. And we say, hey, let's not generate HTML5, let's create an XSL-FO document. Okay, and that's the approach that we take, and that's the approach that I think works well. So I'm going to want you to do that. Probably what you should do is go down and look in your assignments under coding assignments due, and you'll see the tutorial video for building a simple XSL-FO application, and follow that along and maybe practice a bit, and then you're ready to do the coding assignment itself, which is called Wisconsin Museums 4, where you're going to create a printed report of the museum data. Okay? And I'm going to expect you to take the same kind of approach to that as we took in the tutorial. And that should work quite well. Okay? Now, before you do that, I want to talk about a couple of things that will help you with the debugging of your work on Wisconsin Museums 4. And you can either play this now, or you can wait until you need some debugging help and then go say, didn't the trainer say he had something to say that would help with the debugging? Let's go back and play that now. Okay? So, the first thing is, I have found that on this particular assignment, that people get stuck on the following issue. Okay? Some of our content includes optional elements. Okay? So for some of the museums, we have a particular element, and on others, we don't. Right? And we're using an approach to this that is a combination of the design pattern that we have for fill in the blanks and the one we have for navigational. And in either of those, you have to be careful on your code for optional elements, because you don't want to put out the output in the situations where the optional element doesn't occur. Now, students in the past have done well with that general concept, but where they've gone wrong is that the markup that surrounds that whole grouping of information, as you're going to see, is an XSL-FO block. So the tag is FO block, right? And for some reason, many students are inclined to forget that they need to put all of the content that would go into the output document inside the XSL-IF, in which we test if we have the optional element. So they test for the element, that works well, and they don't try to put out the content that's in the element if it's not there, that works well. And then the second level thing that you have to remember is if you're going to put out a heading, well, you need to put that heading inside of the XSL-IF because you don't want to put out the heading if you don't have the element, okay? And this is one level further. You don't want to put it in, you don't want to put out an FO block if you're not going to put anything into it. So the FO block and the heading and the content should all be hanging off of the XSL-IF. That will keep you from putting empty FO block elements into the output. Now, what happens if you put empty FO block elements into the output? Well, when you look at your output, it looks pretty good, okay? Here's where you have problems. In your page length, some of your pages will seem to be ending too soon, okay? And then some of your pages will seem to be ending right about where they should because the XSL-FO print engine is counting lines, okay? And it not only counts the ones that are actually there that print and you can see, but it also counts the empty blocks. So I've had a lot of problems with students who wind up with short pages on this assignment because they accidentally are putting out empty FO blocks. Okay, so if that's the problem you're having, that's probably the source. Now, how could you figure out you were doing something like this? One of the problems that you're going to see in our workflow here is that we typically have an XML-based content input document. We have an XSLT style sheet. We do a transformation that creates a .fo file, but we never get to see it because that gets pumped directly into the XCP print formatting engine, and what we see is what comes out the other end. So if we're putting out extra FO block elements that are empty, we're never going to see them because we don't see that output. So what I want to show you is how you can get to see this intermediate output, this .fo file that is sort of invisible in our workflow, and that can help you with your debugging a lot. Okay, this is sort of akin to the following. Let's say we were doing this with HTML5 and we did a transformation, and the last thing that happened is that our HTML5 document opened in the browser and we looked at it and we didn't like what we saw. We'd say, oh, let's look at the HTML source. Well, the HTML source gets kept, so we just have to go find that file and open it up. But the .fo file gets thrown away. So you and I are going to have to make some changes to cause the .fo file to be saved and then go noodling around and look at it. Okay, so it's a little bit different, but it's not hard to do. Now, right now we're looking at a directory of the XCP examples that we installed when we installed XCP, and I'm showing it to you on my Mac, but the principles here are going to be the same whether you're working in Mac OS or whether you're working in Windows. The example that we ran when we did the install was Hammer. Okay, so if we double click here, we'll see the files associated with Hammer. The XML content oriented input file was hammer.xml. The style sheet was hammer.xsl. We ran the transformation and we generated hammer.pdf. And you'll remember that this was the manual that we got. We got a manual on how to use a hammer. Not particularly useful, but a good illustration of how to use the tools. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you something that's a little more text oriented than the hammer. Well, you know what? Let's just do the hammer. We've worked with the hammer before. I was going to do PDF forms, but I like hammer. So let's do hammer again. And we're going to intercept the FO file and take a look at it. Okay? So what are we going to do? Well, let's open this directory. And the two files I need to get open are hammer.xml and hammer.xsl. So I'm going to highlight them both. And then I'm going to right click and say open with Oxygen XML editor. And I've already had it open, so it's not going to pop up. So I need to go down and click it in the dock. Okay. And there they are, Hammer XML, Hammer XSL. I always like to put the XML input on the left side and have the style sheet on the right side. And you can drag these tabs from left to right to change the order. Here I want to give us a little more real estate to see. So this is the hammer.xml. This is the hammer.xsl. Somewhere I think we might even have the transformation that we ran when we did the install. Let's just take a look. Yeah, generate manual emit XSL-FO. Well, it really doesn't emit XSL-FO. In the last analysis, it emits a PDF. But if we run this, okay, we say apply associated, we're going to get the hammer manual, just like we promised. This is a new one that was just created for us. Okay, we look through the hammer manual and we like everything we see. Well, not a problem. But what if we had a problem like we were coming out with some short pages? Now, short pages would be, let's say we get about maybe 2/3 of the way down this page, and then all of a sudden we skip to the top of a new page, leaving a lot of white space here. That would be the kind of problem if you were accidentally putting out some empty FO block elements. Okay, so how do we intervene and get a look at the .fo file? We're going to close the PDF. And we're just going to go up to our transformation and we're going to change it, okay? And say, let's click on edit, all right? And the XSLT, we want it to work the same way. The FO processing, we want to cancel. So we just want to uncheck the box. It says perform FO processing. And then in the output tab, okay, we're not going to generate a PDF. We're going to generate a .fo. So let's say .fo, okay? And now let's click on OK. And let's click on Apply Associated. And here we have a .fo file, okay? Now the first time I did this, I don't know if it came out properly properly pretty printed. Well, it's not completely pretty printed. So let's go up to the top and click on this format and indent. Okay, and now we're going to see this in a more pretty printed style. And we say, okay, we have the FO root, and then inside of that we have an FO layout master set. And then inside of that we have an FO simple page master. And let's get down in here. Now here we have the page we have here is the title page, right? And as you can see, the content in the title page, each part of it is going into its own FO block. Okay, well that's fine. Now the FO blocks are not empty, so we're only putting out an FO block when we have content to put in the FO block. So if we had the problem with this that many students have with Wisconsin Museums 4, we would go in here and find FO blocks that didn't have anything between the start and the end tag, or we would see that they had a slash to show that they were an empty FO block. They would close with a slash, sort of like this. Let's see how they would look. So let's just take this top one that says International Destruction Machines Corp. So it would either look like this, or of course the shorthand for this is the start element closing with a slash. Either of those is an empty FO block, okay? And you can only see them when you are looking at this intermediate FO file. So if you think you're having a problem like that and you want to see this intermediate FO file, go and change your transformation. Work with the intermediate FO file until you think you have it right, okay? Now I'm not going to save the changes here, okay, but not going to save that, but I'm going to run my transformation again, and I'm going to get a new FO file, and I'll run it again. Keep making my changes in my style sheet till I get it right, and then I'll come and I'll say, oh, you know what? I've got the FO correct. So then what do? Well, I don't want the FO file. It doesn't have a lot of value. I just want to make sure it's right. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back to my transformation, and I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to go back and turn the FO processing back on. So what are the two parts of that? Well, no changes on the XSL-T tab. One change on the FO processor tab, just check the box for perform FO processing again. And then on the output tab, well, it's not a .fo file anymore, it's a .pdf file again. Okay, so now we save this, and now we can do apply associated. And I get the PDF output. So typically we don't see this intermediate FO file. It just gets eaten in our workflow. But that's what you can do to expose the FO file, use it for debugging, and once you're finished, then turn things back to the workflow that we had in the beginning that still throws away the FO file and gives us the PDF instead. Okay, that should be all the debugging you need. Good luck. See you soon. Bye-bye.